The Duffer Brothers weren't lying when they said this new season would be brutal. In today's video, let's see every character who's not gonna make it to the credits. Do you remember that shot in the trailer where someone's falling through the sky in the upside down? At first we didn't know who it was, but now that we think about it, it might be Steve Harrington. Yep. We've seen Steve Harrington get thrown into the meat grinder season after season, and every time he just walks out with perfect hair and a few bruises. He survived Russian torture, the Demobat swarms, and even being Nancy Wheeler's ex-boyfriend, all things that should have killed him by now. But this season 5 feels different. That conversation in the RV with Nancy wasn't just romantic filler. Steve painted his entire future in that scene, 6 little nuggets, road trips across America, a life that finally makes sense after years of playing parent to other people's kids. He described the dream with so much detail that you could practically see it, and that's exactly the problem. The Duffer Brothers never hand out happy endings to fan favorites. Now, in the trailer, we see Steve clutching Dustin in what looks like a goodbye hug. Dustin's face tells that he's already grieving. Even if they've been clashing since the beginning of Season 5, they've been through everything together. Steve was the older brother Dustin never had, and if he dies in Dustin's arms the same way Eddie did, it will be crazy painful. Steve's entire arc has been building towards sacrifice. He started as the popular jock who cared more for himself, but then Barb died at his pool party, Nancy broke his heart, and suddenly being king, Steve didn't matter anymore. He found purpose in protecting the kids and treating them like his own family. He charged into the Upside Down multiple times. Not because he had powers or tactical training, but because those kids needed someone willing to take the hit. As much as we admire his love triangle, it needs an end. 3 seasons now, and we've seen the show push Jonathan and Nancy together. They were the couple that survived apocalyptic trauma and came out stronger. Then season 4 threw a wrench in everything by reminding us that Steve never really moved on, that Nancy might still have feelings for him too. Meanwhile, Jonathan was also in the loop. But here's the thing, the Duffers aren't really interested in making Nancy choose. Steve dying will just be a one-way love ticket for Jonathan without forcing Nancy into an impossible decision. She gets to grieve Steve, remember what they had, and then move forward with Jonathan. Clean and effective. You see, Steve was supposed to die in Season 1 after the Demogorgon fight at Will's house. The Duffers kept him alive because Joe Keery's performance was too good to waste. That paid off massively, as Steve became one of the show's most loved characters. But, of course, his survival was always temporary. Meanwhile, if Steve doesn't die, then Jonathan Byers would be the one to die for the love triangle, and honestly, the stakes are even higher for Jonathan's story to end. There's one little detail from Volume 1, Jonathan holding an engagement ring in a cassette case, staring at it while thinking about Nancy. If you've watched 1,000 movies by now, you'd know the quiet guys never get the girl. It's just how it really is, and no matter how wild Stranger Things is, it still has the same love story as a billion movies. Jonathan has been the thoughtful boyfriend and the one who listens and supports while the others take center stage. He's never swept Nancy off her feet with romantic speeches or heroic moments like Steve. He's just been there, somewhere. Season 4 sidelined him harder than any main character deserves. While Steve faced Demobats in the Upside Down, Jonathan spent the entire season in California getting high with Argyle and contributing almost nothing to the actual plot. Besides, the Duffers had openly admitted that they struggled with what to do with his character after Season 2. Trust me, that's a red flag the size of Hawkins itself. The most tragic version of his death is that he never gets the chance to ask Nancy to marry him. He dies with the ring still in his pocket, and Nancy never knowing that he was ready to commit even when their relationship was crumbling. There's also Will to consider. Jonathan has been Will's protector since their deadbeat dad abandoned the family. If he dies protecting Will from Vecna, probably by throwing himself between his brother and the monster, it would complete his arc as the selfless older brother who gave everything for his family. Will's depression this time would probably last ages. Joyce losing another son would finish the tragedy that started with Bob. She fought through impossible odds to keep her family together and survived her own grief. Jonathan dying would prove that no amount of fighting matters and that she can't protect everyone no matter how hard she tries. Jonathan dying to save Nancy or Will or the group would be his final moment of relevance. He and Steve can't both survive the love triangle. The Duffers spent too much time in Season 4 reminding us that Steve and Nancy still have feelings for each other, and that their breakup might have been premature, that maybe they're supposed to be together after all. Remember there's still a clip from their trailer where both Nancy and Steve are heads on heads crying? Could it be because of Jonathan? One way or another, someone's not making it home from this fight. and if Steve's plot armor holds one more time, Jonathan's will run out for good. But then, even superpowered Will Byers could die too. If you don't know, Will Byers has been marked for death since the moment he vanished into the Upside Down. The entire series exists because of him, not El or Vecna. As much as he's a main character, we might see him sacrifice himself for the group. Season 5 is finally giving him the spotlight after 3 seasons of being sidelined. The Duffers admitted they lost him in the California subplot while everyone else fought Vecna in Hawkins. They promised to fix that, and clearly they did, but of course it comes with a cost. Now the trailer confirms Will's importance in the worst possible way. Vecna claims he is going to help him one last time, and clearly that's no figure of speech. Will's connection to the Upside Down did not actually end. The Mind Flayer possessed him in Season 2, and even after Joyce burned it out, the link remained. Will can still feel Vecna's presence, see through the eyes of Demogorgons, and even use Vecna's powers. The million-dollar question, what does Vecna need him for? Well, Vecna needs a new host. He's been operating from the Upside Down, reaching into the real world through psychic attacks and gate openings, but he's never had a permanent presence in Hawkins. Billy served that role in Season 3, allowing the Mind Flayer to perform the Starcourt Massacre. Will served it in Season 2, becoming a spy and a weapon without even realizing it. Now Vecna wants that power again, and Will is the easiest target. Things start to look really off when you see it from the angle of Will getting possessed again. Season 2 showed him slowly losing control of his own body and watching himself hurt people he loved. Going through that again would be a crazy psychological torture, especially now that he's older and more aware of what's happening. Trust me, his friends might have to kill him to stop Vecna. Will getting powers makes this whole thing even more dangerous. He's been connected to Vecna and exposed to the Hive Mind's energy. What if that exposure gave him abilities similar to Vecna's? That's surely Vecna's influence bleeding through. And maybe it's a good thing for the gang. 11 fighting Vecna through a possessed Will would be the show's darkest moment. She'd have to kill her friend just to stop the big bad using his body. He has been protecting her since Season 1, and for her to be the one who ends him would be the most heartbreaking thing in the show. The Duffer Brothers said Season 5 would be crazy emotional. Surely that means quite a number of people will die, maybe Steve or Jonathan. It could be Will, and even worse, it could be Elle. There is a very high chance that 11 would die. She opened the gateway to hell. She's the reason Hawkins became ground zero for interdimensional nightmares. When she banished Henry Creel to Dimension X in 1979, she made him into Vecna and created the Upside Down. In other words, closing the door might require the same hands that opened it. We should have known this in Season 1. 11 died destroying the Demogorgon, then she showed up alive in the Upside Down, having somehow survived the void between dimensions. She did it again in Season 3 when she lost her powers battling the Mind Flayer. Elle spent all of Season 4 getting them back, training with Owens and Brenner, reliving the Hawkins Lab massacre to unlock her full power. Now she's stronger than ever, levitating herself dozens of feet in the air and crushing military vehicles with her mind. That's her preparation for one final round with Vecna. Max's near death proved that Vecna's gates needed 4 kills to fully merge Hawkins with the Upside Down. He got 3, nearly got the 4th, but 11 restarted Max's heart before the final transformation completed. Technically, Max died for a minute, which might have been enough. The cracks are already spreading through town and dark side creatures are wandering through freely. Vecna almost won. Stopping him now would mean closing those gates permanently, and Elle is the only one strong enough to do it. Just so you know, closing the gates from the Hawkins side won't work. They tried that before. Vecna pushed through and the gates reopened. The only way to end it is from inside the Upside Down, sealing it from within. Someone needs to stay behind, and that someone is obviously 11. The aftermath would really hurt everyone. Hopper just got his daughter back after years of thinking she was dead, then thinking she was lost in Russia, then finally reuniting with her. Losing 11 permanently would break him. Joyce practically adopted her too. Dustin, Max, Will, Lucas, and Mike, she's been their friend and protector since they found her in the woods. Mike would take it the hardest. His entire emotional arc has been learning to express love and to stop hiding behind sarcasm. He finally told 11 he loved her in Season 4, and now she might die leaving him with the knowledge that he was very late with his words. There's a version of this where 11 doesn't die, but instead she loses her powers permanently. She closes the gates, destroys Vecna, and collapses back into the real world completely drained. She's just regular kid Jane Hopper, who's finally living a normal life. The problem with this is that Stranger Things is about growing up and losing innocence. Barb's death taught Nancy that being popular doesn't protect you. 11 dying or losing her powers would be the same thing, telling us that even the most powerful among us can't fight reality forever. You know, Vecna told her, She was responsible for everything. He wasn't wrong. 11 created him by sending Henry to Dimension X. She unleashed the Demogorgon by opening the first gate. Her existence drew Brenner's experiments and pulled the Mind Flayer's attention toward Hawkins. She's really the cause of everything, and she's the only one who can undo the damage and make things right, But then, even if she makes things right and actually survives, one more character is gonna die. Lucas. I know it sounds impossible, but trust me, there's a 70% chance that Lucas will die. Of course, there are a few conditions to it. Clearly, one of the 4 OGs will die. We know Dustin won't die, though. We know Mike is now super protected by both Will and 11, so he's out too. That leaves us with Will himself and Lucas. Will has superpowers, so he's probably strong enough to take care of himself. Lucas, however, only has himself and Max. Do you remember that hospital scene from the trailer? The one with the Demodogs? Well, we've got a lot to discuss. So Lucas survived 4 seasons of chaos by being the pragmatic fella. No big deal there. He's the heart of the group in ways people overlook. Loyal to a fault and willing to fight for the people he loves. But then, the trailers are showing him in situations that look unwinnable. 2 scenes stand out as death flags for Lucas. First, he is in the tunnels beneath Hawkins, covered in blood, clutching a weapon while a Demogorgon drops down right on top of him. Then, in the second, we see him in a hospital elevator, holding an unconscious Max in his arms, while a Demodog sprints toward them at full speed. The doors are closing, but not fast enough. He looks really scared, but not for himself. Lucas and Max have been through everything together. They broke up and got back together so many times. In Season 3, it became a running joke. Season 4 showed the real depth of their relationship when Max started pulling away and Lucas refusing to give up on her. He even held her hand while Vecna shattered her bones and tried to steal her eyes. Max finally opened up to Lucas in Season 4, told him she wasn't ready to lose him, and admitted that she needed him. They were finding their way back to each other, but Vecna just had to interfere and wreck it, leaving Max in a coma and Lucas sitting vigil with no idea if she'll ever wake up. If Max does wake up and the first thing she learns is that Lucas died protecting her, it would break her completely. She already carries guilt over Billy's death, so adding Lucas to that list would be too much. She'd blame herself, spiral into grief worse than anything Vecna could inflict, and probably never forgive herself. Funny how that's the exact type of tragedy the Duffer Brothers are gurus at. They don't give characters happy endings, nah, it's like they're cryotonite. Lucas dying for Max after everything would hurt the audience in ways few deaths could match, and that's probably what the brothers are going for. We've not even spoken about Erica. Her reaction would be particularly devastating. She always looked up to her brother, even when she pretended not to care, and went all badass. She forced her way into their adventures, proved herself as brave and capable as any of them, and earned her place in the party. Losing Lucas would hit her harder than anyone expects because beneath all the sass and eye-rolling, she loves her brother. The Duffers won't kill both Lucas and Max. That would be an overkill, so they'd just kill one. Probably Lucas. Besides, Max already died once. Doing it again would feel repetitive. Oh, and there's the emotional ball game that comes with killing off a beautiful lover. Meanwhile, there are a few others on the chopping block. We've got Hopper, who already seems like he's on his last leg. He's already had one fake death in Season 3, so doing it again risks feeling repetitive, but context matters. Hopper sacrificing himself for 11 and Joyce would complete his redemption arc. He lost Sarah to cancer, and then found a second chance at fatherhood with 11. We've seen him reminisce over this twice or so in the first volume of Season 5. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Anyway, as for Dr. K, she's definitely doomed. Linda Hamilton showed up for a reason, and that reason is to die like a hero. She's hunting 11 for the military, but the trailers show her in the middle of Demogorgon attacks firing pistols at creatures that barely notice bullets. Either way, she's not making it to the credits. There's Murray Bauman, but something about him just doesn't sound so death-related. We'll place his death tendencies at like 20-30% possible. I just don't see any tendency of him being the next kill. Even if he's gonna die, we're definitely gonna get one last joke. That scene from the trailer where someone was falling through the sky in the upside down, it could be any of them. The figure's too distant to identify, but it's pretty that someone's crossing over, dying between worlds. Some people believe that it's Holly Wheeler, but kids that young rarely die in shows like this. More likely it's a main character, maybe Will or Steve or Elle. Maybe it's Jonathan falling while protecting Will, or Lucas falling into the tunnels. Every option is just really horrible. Then there's Eddie, the one story we still aren't done with. The theory that Eddie Munson isn't truly dead and that Vecna kept and transformed him into a vampire cast the betrayer from D&D lore is still very, very possible. Just think about it. The Duffer said Eddie's dead, explicitly shut down every resurrection theory we created, but then, don't forget that they also said that Hopper was dead in Season 3, and then he did Season 4, and now Season 5. If Eddie does come back, it won't be as the lovable metalhead we used to know. He could potentially become something corrupted, possibly working for Vecna, forcing Dustin to face his friend's twisted corpse. That alone could kill Dustin emotionally, even if he survives physically. We wait for the second volume to be out and for the tombstones to roll up. I believe Mike would give a lot of speeches as the gang's leader. Of course, we're all eager to know who is going to die, so I've got my bet on Jonathan, Eleven, and Hopper, but none of that changes the fact that Stranger Things is ending, and endings ain't come gentle. The question was never if someone dies in Season 5, the real deal was always about how many would die and how badly will it hurt. Guess we'll find out soon.